Have you ever faced a health setback that felt like it knocked you off your feet? Well, we have been there. But here's the thing, those struggles don't have to define you. They can shape your greatest comebacks. And today, Dave and I are sharing our real, raw, personal stories from the darkest moments of our health battles to finding hope and strength. And we hope that our journey inspires you. So welcome to Embers Rising. I'm Wendy J, and with me is my incredible husband, business partner, and fellow fighter, David Tucker.
And the crowd goes wild.
Today,
So I'm excited about this topic because we had to pick one story.
Yeah.
And if you're listening out there, if you had to pick one story challenge in your life, especially if it's a health challenge, what would it be? Maybe it's big, but we all have a lot of middle ground, minor sorts of stories. Like it just happens to all of us.
It does. And today we're excited to share really about our health story. So we have both faced major setbacks, mine with anorexia, gut health, and autoimmune challenges, and David with his own health battles and physical recovery. It's been a pretty tough road, but also it's one that has taught us a lot of resilience, compassion, and the power of never giving up. And if you're going through a health challenge or struggle right now, know that you're not alone. We're sharing our journeys, not just to tell you a story, but to offer hope that a comeback is possible. So first of all, thank you for tuning in today. We know this can be a tough topic, but if you're here, it means you're ready to hear about it and what's possible beyond the setback. So we're grateful to have you with us on your journey. Let's get into it.
Yeah, let's dive in. It's a strange sort of year. It's strange sort of this time of year, right? Because we had a family member go through an incredible health challenge. And it was this time last year that he passed away. And his challenge was with ALS, right? And so I think what we're going to talk about today is almost minor compared to something like that because there is no coming back from ALS that we know of, right?
But I have to jump in and just say minor. I mean, health challenges are health challenges.
Yeah.
No matter how
for
big
sure.
they are. And the health challenges that I've experienced were major for me. And when I am going to share my story about anorexia and autoimmune, stand by because these were not easy setbacks to get back from. And they were places in my life where I never thought possible that I could ever get out of. I didn't know how many years it would take. So, and I even think your health journey is still pretty darn inspiring.
I agree.
It's
I agree.
unbelievable what you've been through.
Yeah. I just wanted to reflect on Tom a little bit because
Yeah.
there was nothing he could do, right?
For sure. I mean, battling a disease like ALS, and when we saw it firsthand from my sister's husband, Tom, was an incredible journey to go through. It's all I can say. It is a lot of ups and a lot of downs and more downs than ups. And it's just, I don't wish ALS on anyone. And I hope that one day that there is something that's discovered that can help those with that kind of a challenge, because it is from what I understand, a missing protein in the brain that causes the disruption of everything to cycle down. And I just want them to figure out the protein that's missing to cycle back up, because we're all living a miracle right now of life, of our heart beating and waking up in literally a blessed world, in a very majority meaning we are like an essence of energy living on this planet. And it is a miracle that we're all together and being able to tune in and support each other in ways that we all can. So anyway, I won't be on a tangent of inspiration, but yeah, let's dive in. I actually do have two stories, Dave, to share with us, to share with everyone. And I do want to share that road, but however you want to roll, I'm here.
No, jump into it.
Well-
and I just want to say, for everybody out there that's listening to this, we're talking about health setbacks and comebacks, but
Yeah.
this applies to everything, right? Because
really does.
when you said this is the episode we're going to talk about, I'm like, I immediately went to one thing,
That's
right?
great.
And then I opened my vision. I said, all right, this applies to money and career. It applies to health and fitness.
Yeah.
It applies to relationships, mental health, self-identity, spirituality. and even fun and adventure, right? Like, have you ever just lost your fun, right? I mean, there's a lot of things that can happen in life. And so health is heavy because, man, it impacts all of those things.
Yeah.
If you're not healthy, you can't be there for any of it. And that's why I think health for both of us is really our highest value, right? Like,
Yeah.
I love you more than anything, but if I'm not healthy, I can't be there for you.
Right.
And so, yeah, let's dive in. I just wanted to sort of pull back and look at the bigger picture of how to look at setbacks to comebacks.
Well, my first journey of setback for me was going through anorexia. And this wasn't a choice that I made saying that I'm going to be anorexic or I'm going to be thin. This happened during the era of the fat-free days when the Snackwell cookies came out and it was fat-free. This happened during that era, David, of fat-free. I don't know if you remember that, but all
Yes,
of
the fat-free marketing fad. It's still happening, as a matter of fact.
everything was fat-free. Oils were bad, fat's bad, and go in on fat-free. And so what happened for me in my story is it was so many years ago. I don't even know when, but this is so long ago. I ended up becoming fat-free based on following media and following what was in teenage magazines, following what was in young women magazines, really portioning out my food to a half a cup of cornflakes with, a quarter cup or third cup of skim milk. That's how long ago this was. This was portioning out and eating one Snackwell cookie, however many calories it had. And I was monitoring my food at an extremely high rate where I was chopping up iceberg lettuce salad to take with me to work, which had 0 calories and no oil on it, and eating dry salad. And before long, I had become fat-free. I had become really thin. And I went from, a normal 130-pound 5'8" woman to now under 100. And I think the lowest weight I had hit was somewhere around 94 or 96, which is extremely thin for me. And I had lost all of my muscle and was a walking skeleton. I was dreaming of the day of when I could put jeans on I could actually button that would hold on my waist. Everything fell straight off of me. Even taking trips over to Hawaii when I was younger, I was bundled up, and here I am in Hawaii in long sleeve shirts and jeans because I was so cold. I had no fat on my body, literally no fat. And I was getting books through my family and work environment that were, books like Way Too Thin, have you tried this? Have you looked in the mirror lately? I was like, oh my gosh, throw those away. I am not, what are these people talking about? And it was a time when I had gotten out of the shower and I stood in the mirror and looked at myself, and I saw the fact that my legs didn't touch. In between my legs didn't touch. It almost brings me to tears, guys. Honestly, it was so scary, and I realized I was way too thin. And what was I going to do about it? And how was I going to get back? And here's me, an athlete, going down this road of being way too thin and realizing, like, I was in the mode, I didn't even realize it, And like I said, the word anorexia, I label that for you. It was not labeled for me in my head. In my head, I was just eating fat-free. And if someone were to ask me, you're anorexic, I would have never adjusted that and added that label to me because I labeled that for you so you know what it means. But for me, I never adopted that label. And I just said to myself, I eat fat-free. That's it. And I didn't realize that eating a plain baked potato with nothing on it, has no, 0 nutrients for me, eating a bowl of cornflakes, 0, eating a bowl of chopped up salad, eating Snackwell cookies. I mean, that's how bad it was. So my story of became living in a shrinking box. I mean, everything became smaller, including my self-worth. And recovery was like pushing open a window and letting the first bit of air come in that I had felt in a long time. And it took me all the confidence for me to have to join a gym, which was a brand new YMCA that had opened up. And I walked in the door and got a pass and no one said anything. And I thought that if I started lifting weights that it would help, not considering that my diet could make a change. I had just thought lifting weights will help, but I'll continue eating the same way. And I had seen a gentleman in there who was quite buff, who looked like a trainer. He didn't work for the YMCA. He was just a personal trainer training somebody. And I don't know how David had the courage, but I literally walked up to him and I said, "Would you help me?" And he said, "No. You are a liability for this facility. You need to leave." I was so heartbroken. I'm like, "What? No?" And that was it. And I thought, wow. And I went in the next day and I saw him again. And I said, "I am begging you to help me. I don't know anybody else." He was so muscular, like very strong, fit, dark gentleman. I was like, wow, he looks just like, his energy was radiating. He was helping somebody else, do their lifting routine, and it looked like they were getting good results. And here's me, a waif. I mean, I just was so thin. And he was surprised that I came up again. I mean, I had that much courage. And I said, I know what you said yesterday, but would you help me? And he said, "I will help you if you do everything that I tell you to do." And he stared at me like that. It was like a scary stare. And I was like, all right, I'll do it. And all of a sudden it was a major food plan change, which was adding a lot of calories that I hadn't been used to. And it was a weightlifting routine. So we actually got me on a routine. But here's the part that was really hard for me in the struggle, David, was every pound that I gained to start coming back from anorexia felt like, and this is a mental game change when you're in a world like this, it felt like 10 pounds. And I cried tremendously. Every pound that I gained felt like 10 pounds, and I could feel it on my body because I'm talking a walking skeleton where my bones are so thin. I may have a photo to share with you if you're watching this on YouTube. I may dig into my scrapbook. I may have one I'm thinking of when I was in Hawaii, but my bones were so thin. So for me to add on weight by eating extra pasta and peanut butter and whole milk, real yogurt that wasn't fat-free, because remember when fat-free milk was out, I was drinking fat-free milk. I was adding these calories. And so I had to rebuild myself. I had to gain weight, David, like almost 40 pounds of weight. That's a tremendous amount.
That's a ton.
That's 40 pounds felt like 80 pounds to me. And it like the roller coaster in my brain. And I really didn't have anybody I was going through this with. It was all me. I was really afraid to share this with my family. I was living by myself with a friend in a house, and no one was really with me on the journey. And I had really kind of abandoned everyone. So, if you're struggling with an issue right now, I really encourage you to open up to somebody who you trust, because recovery starts with small, brave steps. Don't do it alone. And the one person that I had that had watched the journey from the very beginning was that trainer that I had found in the gym. I didn't pay him. He helped me from the bottom of his heart. And that's where the journey started. So, anorexia is a real deal, man. And I use the word lightly because it is a label. But if you are seeing someone go down the road, or if you have been there yourself, man, share me in the comments, what your story was like, or where you're at today, or just, high five to you if you've come out of that, because it is a tough journey. And it seems like a couple of people in my family line have gone down this road, or even started down the road and got out of it. But recovery from that is very severe, and every step forward counts. And choosing health and learning about health, for me, I didn't even know, David, how to pick out a tomato at the store. I didn't know that there was a deli that you could just buy deli meat. I was literally, growing up with fast food in my life, and then turning to more boxed food that was fat-free and very little nutrient vegetables. It was a journey of just trying to learn and figure it out. But what a journey. And I did make it back. But it was a long journey. I mean, I would say it almost took me 2 years to get out of that.
Amazing story. I've heard it before, but I haven't heard certain parts of it.
Yeah.
And it's so funny you mentioned the mirror, right? It was like mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the
Yes.
skinniest of them all? And, a lot of times we look in the mirror and we're like, hey, looking pretty good. But when you look at it through that different lens, that critical lens, um, the feedback is different, right?
Yeah.
And I just noticed that there were some similarities in our story. It's so important to find somebody like a coach or a mentor, or it doesn't even have to be somebody you know, right? Just a role model that you see that you're like, I need to go from here to there, and they can help you
Yeah.
see what you can't see, right? Like coaches and mentors, they're like mirrors because they're seeing you for who you really are from the outside, and not what's going on in your mind on the inside.
So that's one of my stories, and I want you to share your story next because I do want to hear that, and then I will share another story if you're still with us. But and I hope you are, and I hope you've found some value in what I shared because it is a big deal. But Dave, your story is even more incredible with the physical recovery and mindset that you've had to have. Please share and dive into this.
Yeah, I want to say one more thing. If you're struggling out there, there is someone coming to save you, but it's you. And it doesn't matter if there's doctors involved, whatever. You have to be the warrior, the mindset warrior that drives the bus, right? And don't believe the first result you get. Don't believe the first opinion you get. Go seek out the solution yourself, and you can save yourself. So for every pound that you lost and had to gain back, I had gained and I had to lose back. And, it was in my mid 40s. I thought I was in great shape. I surfed, I biked, I did some stuff, and that had always worked out for me. But there just came a point in my mid 40s when I just felt like crap, right? Like I would wake up in the middle of the night in cold sweats. After a day of work, even though I worked on a computer, I would be exhausted. I was lightheaded. I had anxiety. I had erectile dysfunction, right? I had, depression, like all of these things that were bubbling up, and I'd never had them before. And I also had to go ponder buying a size 38 or 40 pant, which was unusual for me since, in college I wore a size 30, right? And so I went to the doctor, and the doctor will always figure things out for you. It must be something medical that you can solve with a pill. Or probably you're dying, right? I figured I was dying. And sure enough, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, heart issues, pre-diabetic. There's, testosterone for your manliness, like all of these prescriptions, things that I could do to feel better. And I didn't feel better about that solution. And I went out and did exactly what you did. I found someone else who seemed to know what they were doing. They were a doctor, but they were a sports doctor. They were a chiropractor. They were from a different mindset. And I just laid all the prescriptions out and said, is this really, the destiny of my life? And he said, probably. And that was not the answer I wanted to hear, right? Like I wanted to hear something different. And I said, probably. And he said, probably because you're not willing to do the work, right? Like you don't need any of that if you do the work. And I said, what is the work? And he said, well, do you work out? I said, yeah, I do that elliptical machine, like 3 times a week for 45 minutes. He's like, okay, go find yourself a personal trainer and have them explain to you what working out actually looks like. And you need to change your diet. And he gave me, he slid me over a list of basically what was a high protein diet. And I'm like, nah, it doesn't really sound like what I want to do. But I had the same moment, right? And the moment was after some friends had made fun of my weight. And friends, I love friends, right? Because they always tell the truth, but they do it with a smile. And I mean, I'm talking about your best buds, right? But I got out of the shower naked and I looked. And for the first time, I sort of turned around and looked at the back of myself and I said, when did my ass start growing up into the middle part of my back, right? It's what is going on? And on the scale, I was 221. And I started thinking back, like, what was I in college? It's like 145. Like, where did all of that weight come from? And, it's just an accumulation of a pound here, a pound there, year after year. It just sort of adds up and it slides by your attention unnoticed. And I did the work, right? I just decided I'm going to listen to this guy. I'm going to listen to the trainer. I'm going to eat the food. I'm going to change my mindset and I'm just going to do the thing. And, it was a 3-year journey to get back from a size almost 40 pant, 30 pant to wearing a 30. I lost over 60 pounds. Don't need a statin to control my cholesterol. My cholesterol's perfect. My heart is perfect. My blood pressure is perfect. And, I don't take any pills or meds or anything today, but it was a 3-year journey. It took 3 years. And if you're out there and you're approaching your 40s and you notice the same thing, like the time is now, because it gets exponentially harder to make that change in your 50s and then your 60s. And then, why even bother, right? Like we know people that are in that, why even bother at this point? Well, I'm almost dead anyway, right? Like my dad talks that way. What's the point? And the point is, you need to be there for the people you love and the things that you love about life. And you probably can't be there in a way that, is your highest and best self if you're unhealthy. And so I am just so happy. Like part of that journey led me to you, right? If I hadn't decided to take control of my health, I'd probably still be back in that old life, but it opened up my eyes to all of the other things that you can take control of, and relationships, money, all of those things. So I'm eternally grateful for the lack of positive advice I got from that person. He was just candorous. He was like, you're probably not going to do the work, but I think sometimes that's what you need to hear, right? You need a little slap in the face to wake you up about what you're doing. So life happens for you, not to you, and you've got to be your own biggest advocate and cheerleader.
Oh, that's an incredible story. And I think two things that we haven't shared with our listeners is, why did you let yourself go there on a emotional level?
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons. I love to eat. I love to drink.
Did you settle?
I love to settle.
Did you settle for comfort?
Yeah, I mean, it was just a comfortable life, right? And so
you have done your health journey to yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
Same thing with me.
It was all self-inflicted. That story and your story
both
are
self-inflicted.
almost 100% self-inflicted.
Yeah.
They're your decisions, your actions, right? I mean, like 99.9% of us are living in our result of our actions, our decisions, our mindset, and our actions. And that other 0.1% is Tom, right? He's ALS. And I don't think anything he might have been able to do. I don't know, but...
My next story is also in that space, because you don't ask for certain things that come into your life in the health way. But I'll share that here in a second. But something I want to go back to is the reason I went down the fat-free. What was the deeper reason for me? And I was lost. And I didn't have a lot of friends. And I didn't know what self-worth was. And I didn't feel valued. And I really didn't love my job. And I thought that just having a job was all there was. I was really confused at that time. And I really didn't have family around me. And I felt lonely. And I think when you look at a health challenge, you have to ask yourself, what is the deeper meaning behind it? And where have you let yourself go? And I say that because in order for you to make the change, you have to build the confidence and change your mindset. So when I had found that trainer to help me rebuild my muscles and change my diet, it's because I truly wanted to have self-worth. And I truly wanted to be strong. And I truly wanted to be alive. And I truly wanted to be back as an athlete. So I think just touching on the whys are important, because if you don't know the whys of where you went and why you ended up like that, then it's hard for you to get out of it.
And a lot of it has to do sometimes with your community and the support system that you have around you.
Or not
Or
support.
not. Well, we know our community loves us, right? But they also don't want us to change.
Yeah.
And there's a saying, misery loves company, but that's not true. Misery loves miserable company, right? And you can commiserate together. And sometimes when, for me, when I was walling around at 60 plus pounds overweight, everybody else was fine because they were sort of where they were headed too. But you're absolutely right. My emotional mindset, I was in a relationship that didn't serve me, and rewarded food and drink, right? And lack of, exercise, those sorts of things. And I just settled. I had just settled into life and just sort of focused on work, not in a bad way. Just was sort of what I thought my season in life was right there. And hey, if I've got to buy an extra large wetsuit to go surfing, and then I get out there and I'm so weak that I can barely paddle through the big waves anymore, so I only surf, the small stuff, I guess that's just the way life goes. Except here I am almost 20 years later, and I just ran a 50K, right? I just ran my first 50K. And everybody's shocked, right? They're like, are you okay? What are you doing? Like, you're going to hurt yourself. I'm like, no, I'm actually helping myself grow. I'm like, well, that looks painful, Dave. I'm like, yeah, it is, but
it is an incredible story.
It's worth it.
I think, when we can inspire ourselves to do something, it sets the trajectory of what's possible. Did you ever think this year that you would run rim to rim Grand Canyon? Never thought possible that you could do rim to rim. You went down 5,000 feet to the bottom of the Grand Canyon, Dave.
Wait a second. I thought it was 6. That's what I put in a social media post.
Setbacks are comebacks. And I just want to circle back to anything is possible. When you put your mind to it and you say, I'm going to do this thing, and you put the time into it, you're persistent, you're consistent, it's on your schedule, and you keep showing up for yourself. That's the most important time. As soon as you give up on yourself and you say, I run 5 miles a day, but you're still 40 pounds, 30 pounds overweight, you need to rethink that. If you're not happy and you're not healthy where you want to be, you need to ask yourself, why? Why have I let myself become this way? And I had a journey that I faced for, I don't know how many years, Dave. How many years was it? Since like 2014? Something
autoimmune?
like that? Yeah.
I mean, it still crops its ugly head on a
10 years?
regular basis.
Like
not as regular as it used to, but
I'm going to say like 10 years or so. And that it was a long time. Anyway, autoimmune can show up in everyone's body differently. So when you use the term autoimmune, it is very lightly, because it is like saying, I have gut health. Well, who knows what kind of gut health you have issues with. But I had autoimmune, very similar to the story of Lisa Bilyeu. And our systems would shut down, meaning my colon would just shut down. And it was extremely painful and constant stomach aches. There was just, I would eat and a stomach ache, eat this and a stomach ache, and constant inability to go to the bathroom, go to number 2. And it's like trying to build a house on a shaky ground and not getting anywhere with it. It's just constantly falling over, and you try to build a little foundation, constantly falling over. And I went to doctor after doctor after doctor, from Western medicine to integrative medicine to holistic medicine to Chinese medicine, and finally ended up at medical medicine, even to shamans. I even worked with a shaman. So
when you can't poop, a shaman is definitely not out of the question.
Yeah,
like you'll go to anything.
Listen, this is 10 years, guys. Seriously, this was a battle that I have faced with, and I don't know exactly how it came on. So that's why I said, what's your why? I'm not sure how this came on. I was in Hawaii at the time and living in Maui, and my systems just started shutting down. I was doing all the uncomfortable things like colon cleanses and all that to try to help reboot, but it was just coming back. I was just facing the same issues. I followed the celery juicing program for 2 years straight or something, every morning, 16 ounces, a large amount of celery. I did all sorts of craziness, including powders from shamans and energy work. But here's the thing. I think that everybody's help with me guided me one little step at a time. And also, I was doing a lot of research myself. And here's the cool thing about our internet. You can go into whatever platform and reverse engineer the story that you're looking for. Instead of saying, I want to lose weight, say the success story of that. And I was typing in to the platforms and search bars out there, from everything from YouTube to TikTok to Google to wherever. I was typing in my healing journey of gut health, my healing journey of autoimmune, my healing journey of trying to find other people's stories and finding out what they did, and started following what they did. And what I realized is something attacked my system hardcore enough, which was Epstein-Barr virus is what I ended up having, a version of that. And the version of that attacked me was in my colon, where it just shut down. And I needed to rebuild my health in a really big way. And I seemed fine and healthy when I'm living on Maui, no problem. And this just hit me out of nowhere. So I'm not really sure if it was my diet there or too many Monsanto papayas, Dave. I don't know. Something hit me like a train over there. And then it was just a journey to get back, and then even having to move back to the mainland to get more care. So it has been a journey with autoimmune. And listen, I ran into someone the other day who told me that they were a runner, and they said, I stopped running because I have autoimmune. Man, I want to tell you, fight like hell to get out of whatever you have. And do not give up. You can run again. It was her passion. It was her absolute passion, was running. And she has not been able to do that because of autoimmune. If you're listening to this, man, shoot me a comment or DM. You came to my house and you bought the pink stool. So, man, I remember you out there. So please, don't give up on yourself. You deserve to go out and do what you want. Autoimmune is a crazy dis-ease for all of us that experience one level or another. And you just have to say to yourself, don't give up, because every day can be debilitating. And also you feel like it's never going to end. You don't know. You're like, how many years is it going to take me? The reason I stopped racing was because of autoimmune. I was having massive migraines and couldn't get my health on check. And when was this ever going to stop? And I feel this year is pretty powerful to be able to finish a 50K at the end of the year for me. And I don't have any migraines. And I have been able to, go to the bathroom on a regular basis. And there are still some issues I'm still fighting, but they're a lot minor to where I was. They're very minor compared to where I was. And I think take anyone's advice, and any doctors that you're working with advice, as stepping stones. Because sometimes they don't nail it. And I've worked with some of the best in the nation. We've paid buco bucks to go and fly to the best in the nation, who is on TV, who is on the podcast, who is on the big stages, who are the incredible speakers out there.
And it was just another piece of information,
it was.
Right? It wasn't the
here's the solution. Here's the solution. In fact, I was digging down in my own blood tests. Dig down in your own blood tests and ask yourself. Don't just let them tell you this is where you're at. I was the one who discovered it and said, hey, what about this? Have you guys thought about, oh yeah, we saw that, but we don't think. I'm like, wait a minute, back up. What? Tell me about Epstein-Barr virus. Could this be contributing? Yeah, it could be, but we didn't want to go down that route. Hey, get real with your own journey and trust your instinct, and follow that. So, if you're navigating a health challenge with yourself, your partner, or loved one, start by openly discussing how you can better support each other. I think it's the biggest thing, David, is you were there by my side every day going through it when I was feeling really awful. And sometimes the simplest words, I'm here, are the most powerful.
Yeah, it's really difficult for your significant other, the person you love, right, to watch you go through something like that, because you feel so helpless and you want to help, but it can be frustrating for you, right? When I would suggest, have you tried fiber? And you're like, all right,
magnesium.
I'm going to kill you if you say that
again. If you say magnesium again, I'm just going to
And it's so hard for the other person who is not affected. How many doctor's appointments did we go through?
How many blood tests?
How many blood tests? But every time I was hoping like this is the solution, and I wasn't in the mindset of like we're on a journey. I was thinking, like this is going to be the one. And I'll never forget the time you went to get some imaging, some X-rays, and they took the X-rays and they said, we'll let you know the results. And, like next week they called up and they said, could you make an appointment to come in? We want to go over the results. And whenever you hear that, like the hair on your arms stands up because you're expecting them to say, everything's clear. I mean, that's what we'd heard before. I don't see anything significant. And we go into that radiology room and it's dark and it's cold and the doctor comes in and all he does is like nods and says hello. And then he turns on that X-ray thing and he puts in the X-rays and you just know like the solution is coming, but it's also bad news. And I was
trying to figure out where Dave is.
He takes out his pen and he goes, do you see this area up here? And you're like, shit. Yeah, I see that area up there. And he said, you see this? This area, this is a large amount of stool that's stuck in your intestine. And the room went quiet. And I said, doctor, are you saying my wife is full of shit? And
oh my God.
He's like, he looks at me, he's like, he smiles and he's like, this isn't funny. And he's like, we're going to need to put you on a special diet and all of these, stool softeners and all of this horrible crap, no pun intended, that you don't want to put in your body. And that's what led you to some of the colonics, right? Like there's a natural, actually quick way of making this happen that doesn't screw up the rest of your eating for the next 3 weeks.
And actually, it wasn't an X-ray. It was a CT scan, Dave. So that's why we had to wait, because people are like, hey, you get X-rays pretty quickly. It was a CT scan, so we had to actually wait for results. And by the way, we're in Maui, and anything in Maui takes like 10 times longer than the mainland. So
right. If there's today's technology, if you go to the hospitals in Hawaii,
have fun with that.
It's going to be 10 years before they get it, because
it's pretty setback.
Yeah, some of their stuff looks like a scene from The Shining. It's just rusty stainless steel, and there's that dripping sound, drip, 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 and you're like, I don't think this is going to work out.
You know when the
me.
color of white turns like yellow in the plastic?
Right, like everything does in Hawaii.
Yeah, well, I remember going in for an MRI one time. I was surfing and I had pulled my knee ligament, and they had rolled me into the MRI room, and I was like, it looked like the machine had gone yellow. And it was like a white, it was supposed to be a bright white, and I could tell that it was yellowing. It was, the top was still like white, and the whole machine was yellowing. I'm like, oh, nice. I wonder how old this thing is.
In your story, you did talk about you've got to get your mind right.
Yeah.
And one of the things, if it is to be, it's up to me, right? Part of that is get out of your head in this circumstance in a good way, right? Because your mind is basically a compost heap of your past, and it's just stacked, like Wendy's colon was stacked at that point in time. And it's just looping on the past. And as your mind continues to loop on the past, you will continue to get what you're getting without any positive results. And that's why pills are so popular. You're like, well, I don't have to think differently. I just pop a pill and then there's a whole different set of problems. And some pills work, right? I'm not putting down the entire medical industry.
Yeah.
But you got to get out of your head and get out of the compost heap if you want to make a change.
Yeah, there was a lot of, and that is very true. And I just think you have to keep trying. I mean, I worked with everyone from Anthony Williams, medical medium, Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. Chris Kresser. Golly, I mean, it's just a huge amount of people that I've worked with. But every one gave me like one step on the stepping stone to get me to the next phase. And I just was super consistent about doing everything they said, and not everything that they said worked. So I'd try different diets, and I'd get up every morning and make celery juice, and I'm buying like cases of celery from Costco, and organic celery is being shipped to us. I mean, it was crazy. But you know what? All of those things that I did help me get my health back. And I may still be dealing with minor issues today, but in the long run, I'm 90% better than I was. And I'm not in the bathroom, not being able to go to the bathroom. I think our health journeys haven't been easy, either one of us. And they've taught us a lot about ourselves, each other for sure, because we're with each other, and what it truly means to come back stronger. And whether you're battling mental, physical, or both types of health challenges, know that you have the strength to make it through. And it may be messy, but maybe it may be slow, but it's possible. And thank you for allowing us to share our stories with you. And remember that setbacks are not the end. They're really the beginning of something new. And we want to encourage you to share your story if you feel like it or feel comfortable sharing your story. We'd love to hear it. We want to support you in your recovery as your journey goes, and maybe it's even as a couple. So
just hearing that, a healing is possible is a resource, right? It's empowering, because so much of your mind says this is the way it's going to be and this is the way it's going to be forever. So you got to push that to the side and say, no, actually, I'm going to create my comeback and my comeback story.
Google Dr. Joe Dispenza's story if you are really feeling like you need to step up living in the future self. And it's something that I applied to my life as I was moving through my journey, is Dr. Joe Dispenza's story, really becoming and thinking somebody that I wasn't yet, but living that in the moment. In my mind, I was living that, even though my physical body hadn't yet joined. My mind was saying, I am this person. And I continue to use that same mantra as I move through life. So, Dave, let's wrap it up and just say mahalo for joining us. I mean, no matter where you are in your health journey, every step that you take is a small deposit for yourself, and that's a win. So if this episode resonated with you, please rate, review us on Spotify, leave us a heartfelt comment on Apple Podcasts, and share it with someone that you may know might need to hear this or hear our stories. You can always visit my website, wendyj.com, for more updates and resources. But just know that Dave and I believe in you. You've got this. You're one step away today and one choice away from making your life better and healthier. Don't give up on yourself. We absolutely believe in you. You can do it no matter what. It's possible. I just want to say, keep chasing the dreams, keep going no matter what. We love you. We're supporting you all the way. And aloha.
Aloha.